I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 81 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and celebrating myself. And today I chose to celebrate my default settings. I've talked about default settings in lots of my videos. It's just kind of my way of saying that's how my brain is, the default settings in my brain, my immediate reactions to everything, my fallback, my go-to when I don't know what else to do. I go back to my default settings, and I have some really warped default settings. I'm just going to say that I have some really warped default settings. But I do, however, have one default setting that I'm really grateful that I have, and that is when I don't know what else to do. I usually say a prayer. I usually just turn to God and I ask Him to help me when I am having a panic attack, when I am anxious, or an anxiety attack, or I'm just, freaking out, or I'm just completely devastated and I just cannot figure out what else to do. I pray. That is something that I always do, and I am very grateful for that default setting. Very grateful for that one, because that is something that I know has helped me and blessed me in my life, and it has helped me to overcome quite a few other things in my life. And I heard somewhere, I don't know how accurate it is or it's true or not, but it's like 85% of your brain, your responses and everything is learned by the time you're 3 years old. And the other like 15%, these percentages could be off a little, but is usually finished developing like when you're in your late teens, early 20s. So like somewhere between like 18 to 21 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, but it's where you develop like your response system and right and wrong and what to do and not to do, and your basically your default settings, how your brain is wired to respond to things. And what I am learning, what I have continued to be learning, is that I can add new settings, just like on a phone or a computer. They have other settings in there that you can change the settings to, but they always have that little button, that reset button, reset to default settings, reset to factory settings, whatever it is. And I swear there are times in my life when there's some kind of trauma, a death, divorce, accident, whatever it is, my brain just hits that little reset button and I go right back to my default settings of running away, of hiding, of avoiding life, avoiding responsibilities, of daydreaming. And honestly, that's another default setting that I can't really say I dislike so much, because I do like daydreaming. I like creating stories in my head. And now I have the opportunity to turn those stories into books. And that's kind of cool, to turn something that's an avoidance tactic to mine into something that can be positive, something that I could eventually share with other people. And I've shared a little bit with some people. So that's kind of a cool default setting. When I'm bored, I just don't want to deal with whatever's going on in my life, I just daydream. I create another story. I create another world. I create another life where I want to be, where I want to live, where I have all the control. Because I don't feel like I'm in control in reality. So it is something I need to try not to do quite as much, but I don't mind that default setting so much, because it's just kind of a fun escape for me. So I'm grateful that I have some fun escapes and some default settings that, turn me to God and turn me to prayer, turn me to solutions that are actually helpful. And I have some that are very protective default settings that are there to protect me, prevent me from getting hurt again. Although sometimes it hurts myself, because I'm just preventing myself from enjoying life and living life, because they're just wired too high strung. I need to adjust my settings. And I realize that I can add new settings, and as I add new settings, as I add new responses to my brain, it still brings up the default ones every time, but at least now I'm in a place where I can see that I have a choice. I can go back to the old default setting, or I can use the new one. And some days I'm really good at using the new settings, and other days those default settings they just take over. Kind of like autopilot, the default setting. This is what we do. This is how we respond in this situation. So it's always cool to me when I see that myself responding in a different way, and recognizing that I have created a new setting, a new response to something that I would like to be my default setting. I don't know that I can actually replace the default settings. I think those are things that are they're ingrained at this point. They're built in. But I have the option, like I said, to create new settings, and I have the choice to go with the old default settings that sometimes are very beneficial, sometimes they're just overprotective and they're just too much, and sometimes they're just they're just yeah, they're just not good. They're not healthy for me. So, or I have the option to respond in a different way and to one of my new settings, or to continue to build or create new settings. So I'm not just stuck with my default settings. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm grateful that I'm aware of my default settings and that it is a part of who I am. And it is something that I will always have to consciously make a choice or an effort to remember, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? Like, it's not so, but I have to consciously be aware. I have to make myself stop and think before I can react or respond in order to figure out which setting I'm using. Because if I don't stop and think in a situation, the default one is automatic. That's the one that goes first. And I don't seem to have a way to change that response. But I have new settings that I can choose to use and respond with, and I usually feel better when I respond with those. But like I said, there's some I won't try to replace. Like praying is not something I will try to replace. The daydreaming one, when I get bored, I don't think I'll try to replace that one, but I think I would like to get to a point, instead of just daydreaming, that I will actually sit down at my computer and type up whatever I'm coming up with in my brain, so that I can actually turn it into books, so I can actually get my books written and then hopefully eventually published. So I think I would like to redirect that setting, but I would like to keep that setting, because I know when I run out of the stories I'm typing up that I will create more stories. There's always, get bored of one, there's always another one that can be created. So but that's another setting that I would like to keep. It just needs to be, like I said, redirected a little bit, which is cool. And I'm grateful that I can recognize these settings and recognize my responses to things, and work towards either changing them, redirecting them, or adding new ones so that I have other options. So I'm not stuck with the same old, and I don't feel stuck and depressed and discouraged all the time. So yay for default settings. Yay for seeing that they're, again, a positive purpose to some of that, and also recognizing that it is going to require me to do a lot of thinking and cognitively functioning, processing what my choices are going to be, what settings I'm using to respond to something, and then choosing if I want the old ones, if it's healthy or not, or choosing healthier, new, healthier responses. So it is a process. It is a process I'm still in the middle of. It is a process I may be dealing with the rest of my life. I have no idea at this point in time. But I am grateful to recognize that that's something in myself, and something that I get to work with, and that I can work with it. I'm not trapped or stuck by it, and it does not get to control me. I can I can change my settings. It's not easy, but it can be done, and I have been doing it, and I've been watching myself do it through these videos, so I'm really grateful for that. And that is what I have on default settings today. So if you like these videos, you can hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think they'll like it too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude. Find some fun ways to celebrate yourself, and maybe do some writing.